Da, 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 da. It's the end of 2019. Curtis! Da 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 da. It's the Easy XP Curtis! Welcome to the year-end podcast. We are live. And we're going to be talking video games of the decade.
No, we're not.
Oh, sorry, the year. We're going to be talking movies and shows of the year. Maybe we'll talk about the decade. Maybe we'll talk about what the...
Let's start with the year. Let's start with games. So, notable games.
Great.
So I made a list, obviously, of the stuff.
Transition.
I don't want to talk about the decade. That's a no hold other podcast, I feel.
That's a decade's worth of podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, anyways, sorry.
Notable games for 2019 that I've played. There's a lot of games I didn't play, obviously. Sekiro. I don't know, a lot of these games, they don't seem like they came out this year. Like,
I know.
Sekiro doesn't seem like it came out this year.
Sekiro got Game of the Year, too.
Yeah, Sekiro got Game of the Year by the Game Awards.
Yeah.
I played Sekiro. I didn't finish it. I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't know... The one problem I had is I didn't know where to go half the time. Like, I had a lot of the map opened up, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was supposed to do. Like, I see all these epic fights with some of the, like, bosses and stuff, but I don't even know how to get there, even though I have, like, most of the map opened up. So that was my one little gripe. And also the storytelling's a little bit more direct than Dark Souls and other From Software games.
And you love that, like, kind of like...
Atmospheric.
You have to, like, look into...
Environmental, vague, kind of...
very vague story.
Piece it together.
At least those games are really catered to
I just don't like explicit storytelling in video games, but that's a whole other thing. But other than that, Sekiro is really, really good. Like, I agree with it deserving Game of the Year. Like, there's obviously a lot of other contenders that I could see you picking the others as Game of the Year, but I could see... I'm not sad or, like, disappointed or... Like, I'm totally on board with Sekiro being Game of the Year. Did you play it at all? Anything
I watched you play it on, like, Facebook live stream, whatever. But, no, I never played it. It looked fun. It looked cool. I like that, like, grappling hook aspect.
That's one thing, yes, From Software. Like, this was another, like, proof that From Software can do games that aren't just Dark Souls. Because they're saying that, they actually said that after they finished doing Dark Souls 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
Was that, like, we want to make a new game that's not just, like, we don't want to just become, like, the same, we just make Dark Souls over and over. Like, we want to show that we can do other things, explore different types of games.
Okay.
And so...
It's still like a Souls game, kind of, isn't it?
It is, but the combat's very... If you're a Souls player, you know it's very different. Like, if you're a Souls player, it'd be like 1, 2, and 3 are like the same. Even a Souls player would say that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's refined different things, like, slightly, you know? Like, oh, it's sharper in 3 than 1.
I see, yeah.
Right? And there's a little bit different level design in 2 and 3, whatever. Right? But even a Souls player would be like 1, 2, and 3 are like Souls games.
Yeah, they're...
But even a Souls player, when they play Sekiro, they're like, this is not a Souls game.
It's about like parrying a lot and stuff, right?
Yeah, so Souls you can kind of get away with, and I remember someone saying this because I'm in one of the Facebook groups for one of the Souls games or whatever. I remember them saying that Sekiro is significantly harder than Dark Souls, just in their experience, because they played Sekiro first and then they played Dark Souls.
Oh.
And I can see that, because Dark Souls you can actually get away with a lot. I mean, like, I haven't played all the Dark Souls fully, but for the most part, you can get away with timing your rolls and just hitting, like, right after they hit. Like, so you just time your roll, like, he's about to hit, roll, then hit, and then he's about to hit again, then roll. And then after that, it's just finding out when the time is to roll. They'll fake you out, right? They'll be like... And then you think they're going to hit, so you roll, but then they don't. They just hold their sword for an extra second, and then you roll, and then they chop you. So, like, there's different timings that you have to get used to and stuff like that. But for the most part, Dark Souls, you can get away with rolling and hitting, and that's just timing. Yeah, Sekiro, there's different techniques that they make you play with. So, obviously, the first one that everybody knows is parrying. Is you can play it like Dark Souls. It's just not very easy to. Like, there's certain characters or, like, enemies that counter that sort of, and they try to discourage that type of play, just because your first, when you hit the roll button, you kind of just, what do you call it, strafe or, like, kind of fade away, and it's not super far, but you can still kind of do it, but they encourage you to use the parry system, because there's enemies that every enemy has a posture, I think they call it, and so you have to break their posture, so you can keep hitting them And that's one way to break their posture. It's not super effective, but the best way to do is parry, right? So you have to time your deflection so that, and then that'll break their posture, and then you have an opening to attack them.
Yeah.
So that's one way. And then there's other techniques, like one that you learned very early is a Mikiri counter, which is when there's a stabbing attack, you get to step on the spear, or it could be a sword or whatever, but you have to time that perfectly. So then it's different because it's like you see him loading up the spear and he's going to stab you, and you're most, like, because you're a Souls player, your response is like, well, I'm going to roll out of the way because it's a straight attack.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'll just strafe and roll away, which you get out of the way, but that doesn't give you any opportunities to attack because the game really wants you to use this counter, the Mikiri counter. So there's different ways it wants you to play, and I would also argue that there's different tools it gives you that Dark Souls... It's a little different. Like, Dark Souls, obviously, there's magic and all that kind of stuff, but Sekiro has, like, because he has that prosthetic arm, there's so many different attachments you can use to help you. So, like, there's one that's like an umbrella that's like a shield that'll block almost anything. If you really fuck up, you're in like a really bad position, right? You're like, oh shit, I gotta use this umbrella.
That's cool.
And you can upgrade the umbrella as well, and there's different upgrades. So there's also like a shuriken, which you can upgrade your shuriken. Like if you throw your shuriken, one of the upgrades is it stays spinning in the air for a while, so it like stuns them for a second because it's just ripping them up. So there's like I don't know, there must be like 5 or 6 different tools that like play very differently. Oh, there's one, like there's a firecracker that like stuns enemies.
Oh, I saw that actually.
Right, there's that one. There's so many different tools. So I would argue like even a Souls player themselves would say the gameplay is very different from a Souls game.
Okay.
It still obviously has the like this is hard, but I mean like I don't know if
it's
that
still got the get good.
Yeah, like I don't know if that makes it a Souls game just because you're like this is hard.
No, I that without straying too far from the 2019 list, but for a while there, like just a game being hard, people would be like, oh, it's like Dark Souls.
It's like Souls,
no, that's not the same. Like you know, there's a specific aspect to it that is Dark Souls, like having to retrieve your souls and shit that you collect. You know. Okay, yeah, let's go on to the next game. So that's your game of the year. Or you agree that it should be game of the year at least?
I don't mind it getting game of the year at all.
Okay,
I can see that.
Yeah.
Cool. Something that might be my game of the year potentially, I was gonna bring, which I've talked about on other podcasts, is Slay the Spire.
Yes.
And I surprisingly, I put in way more hours into that game than I thought I would. Like it really surprised me. Like when I first saw Slay the Spire, Slay the Spire, if you guys don't know, it's like a deck builder. Yeah. It kind of, if you first see it, it looks kind of like Hearthstone.
A little bit, yeah.
Kind of, but then it's a single-player roguelike deck builder.
Yeah.
Right? So roguelike basically just means every time you play through it, it's different.
Yeah. So when you die, you go to the beginning.
Yeah, it's kind of like arcade. Yeah, you die, you have to start all over again. And there's little upgrades you get every time you die as you accumulate points and experience and all that stuff, kind of. That's just a general roguelike thing. But in general, like I don't know, maybe it's because I have a lot of like the time that I have, like I played at work, so I can't play like Sekiro at work because I'm at work.
You gotta really get into that game too.
Yeah, right. But Slay the Spire, like as a card game, I can play at work because there's no time limit on your turns. You can play every card, like you can take your time with every turn if you want. Yeah. But Slay the Spire is like really, I don't know, if you want a casual kind of, and you like roguelikes, because I like the roguelike aspects. I found I really like roguelikes.
I like them too.
Then Slay the Spire, you're looking for like a kind of casual card game, and you can take it pretty seriously. Like, I got really into it. It's one of those like easy to play, like easy to just hop into, and like for example, I thought I downloaded Astroneer because I got Game Pass on Xbox. Oh yeah. And like I'm sure it's easy to get into. It's just like like there's a tutorial and all this stuff. And most games there's some type of learning curve at least at the beginning. Yeah. And obviously Slay the Spire has that, but you can very easily play without. Like you won't know everything when you first play, but you'll still have fun when you play without knowing everything. And I feel like it's actually really hard to make a game that's like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That like, it's almost like when you try to think of a story or something, they always have to need like the first part of the introduction, kind of like, okay, this is the world, these are the things, but like Slay the Spire, you can just start the game and you're like, okay, I'm playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, whereas other games are like, well, here's this button that's your special power to do your thing. You're like, this is so much, like, reading and
tutorial modes suck.
Yeah, like, but I understand, like, certain games need them,
I remember playing Final Fantasy 15, I was like, oh, this is so much
learning the systems and stuff, right? Did you want to do one? Do you want to talk about?
All right, we'll talk about Death Stranding, my game of the year. I understand why it's not game of the year.
It's your game of the year. You're saying?
Okay, I'll be honest. 2019 is my year of like catching up on old games. So honestly, this list that you made, I haven't played much of it. I've played like snippets or watched playthroughs. Like I watched this is weird. I watched Resident Evil 2, the remake.
Right,
Like I watched the whole game through actually.
Oh, awesome!
It looks like they did a really good job of like upgrading that original game. And it looked pretty fun. Like the new system. Like I'm excited for the third one because if they use that engine, I think it'll be good too. I'm excited for once they finally get to Resident Evil 4. That one I'm for sure probably gonna buy.
Right.
But yeah, Death Stranding. Yeah,
is your game of the year.
Death Stranding is my game of the year only because I haven't played the others. Sekiro looked good, but Death Stranding I really enjoyed it. I understand why it's not for everyone. No, I'm just kidding. Just keep going. I really enjoyed the story. Like Kojima always has a bunch of twists and stuff, so it's really fun. At the beginning of the game, it's kind of like this game style is kind of grueling, and then you get past like the second chapter and you get a bunch of tools that make it easier and stuff, and it becomes really fun because you start to go and you're like, okay, I have to get from point A to point B, but this area has a giant waterfall, so how the fuck am I gonna get past that? And it's like I don't want to walk all the way around this mountain, so now I'm like building like tons of ladders and I'm trying to make it just like angled just right so I can go up this entire mountain with ladders and stuff. So it's really fun.
Have you played it recently? Like after a lot of people have played it, and then they're like building. So like one of the things at Death Stranding, if you didn't know, is that like you can build structures in the world, and it appears in other people's games, so it can help them. So if like I build a bridge, it can appear in Zach's game, and he can use the bridge to get across the waterfall.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
There's servers, so like not everything that everyone makes is always in your server, but a lot of times you'll run into things where it's like, oh, thank God this fucking bridge was built here, so I can just take my.
Have you noticed like more stuff?
I have noticed more and more stuff. As you progress in the game, like you have to build like your bandwidth basically. Okay. Like these structures you make use bandwidth. So the more you help the like local people, the more they provide more bandwidth for you. It's weird. It's hard to explain this game.
Local people. So
there's underground like
villages.
Think like Gurren Lagann. Yeah.
There's villages.
Yeah. There's underground like settlements basically. And they have something called the chiral network, which is basically like future internet, and you have to use bandwidth to like 3D print these structures. So the soundtrack was amazing. I actually like just listened to the soundtrack like on my own time, like not playing the game, because it was like actual artists he got to make it, like Churches and a couple other like bands and stuff.
They got Churches.
They got Major Lazer. They got real Churches.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed it a lot. It's weird how like cathartic and like calming it after a while. Like it can be very frustrating, but like it's fun to like. It's like, hey, I'm helping out this other person, or hey, I'm gonna help build this road, so it's gonna be even easier to get.
I heard
across.
it takes a long time to get into, but once you're into it, it's like you're into it.
It's really fun after a while. Yeah,
it's interesting that like GameSpot gave it, I think, a 10 or at least a 9. I think it might have given it something really high.
I think a lot of places gave it pretty high, except for IGN in America gave it like 6.4 or something.
It was like 6.7 or something, but I think they were saying it's because. Like, and it did. I can see the perspectives generally from GameSpot and IGN. GameSpot likes the more obscure like art pieces. Like this is an art.
This
piece.
is an auteur art.
Yeah, it's like they would like Tree of Life.
Yeah,
kind
exactly.
Of thing, right?
Yeah,
but IGN's kind of like, can I recommend this to everyone? That's kind of like the perspective they come on. Like, can I recommend this to like almost anyone?
This game is definitely not for everybody, and like I totally like Metal Gear Solid 3. Is like my all-time favorite game, and I could actually say, hey, that's an accessible game for like a lot of people. I think a lot of people would get into that story and be like, this is like a good. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's a good amount of time. It still holds up to this day. But this game, I'm like, you have to be like into this weird, obscure Kojima shit to really be into this game. This is definitely Kojima, like at his most free, most like high concept I've ever seen for him. Like
highest budget probably.
Highest budget as well, I think. And you can see how they probably saved money the way they designed it, but it's still a high budget game. Like just the way there's not many like NPCs and stuff you have to deal with in the world, right? So like that cuts down on a lot of stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on?
Yeah, we can move on. That's my game of the year.
Okay.
Jedi Fallen Order. We should talk about that one next.
Okay,
I did try that game out. It's really fucking fun. I need to get that game when I do get time.
Nice.
Because I love the aspect that you can build your own lightsabers and shit. It's so cool.
I think that's probably the one game we both played.
Yeah, I think so. I played Battlefront 2 as well. But
that didn't come out this year.
It didn't.
That's just one I wanted to mention.
Okay, yeah, totally.
But no, I played Jedi Fallen Order. I'm probably way further than you are.
Yes, you definitely are.
I don't even know how far I am, but it feels like I've been playing for a while, even though I know the campaign's relatively short. I think I'm on like the 4th world at least. I have like a bunch of the planets opened up, but I've gone back and whatever. I'm on Kashyyyk or something. I don't know. But yeah, like obviously the lightsaber is all aesthetic or whatever, but that's really cool still.
Yeah, it's so cool. You can do like a double lightsaber too, right?
Yeah, well, so see, I guess you didn't make it far at all. So sometimes
no, I didn't. I literally tried to snip it in this game.
You don't like have to use a double lightsaber, but it's encouraged to use when there's multiple enemies. But anyway, the gameplay is really fun. They tried a little bit of a dark. It's kind of like a mix between like Dark Souls, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, kind of.
That's cool.
Like there's all kinds of like. It's not quick time events, but when you're like running across, it's like an Uncharted thing where you're running across the thing. You got to jump and then leap and run across the wall, jump, sling across the rope, jump another wall, and then you land. And they have a lot of those things. And some people kind of hate those sequences. Like a lot of people don't like the sliding. There's a lot of those sequences where you're like sliding down a thing while you're getting shot at or something or whatever. It's like a movie scene kind of.
Yeah.
But I don't mind them. They're not that bad. I mean, there is actually a lot of falling. Fallen Order. That's why they call it Fallen. No, but there's a lot of falling because it's not the most refined game. A lot of people, that's their biggest complaint, but which actually shows how good the game is, because the game's good other than that. It's like, for example, like you're standing like, you're supposed to be standing on the ground, but for some reason the texture is kind of fucked up and the graphics, something happened that you're standing a little bit an inch off the ground is kind of noticeable. Really? Okay. Or like there's little like not fully polished there. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. It's not like fully polished everywhere. But like taken as a whole, like the game is really good. Like, or for here's another example. Is like, yeah, right. Another example is like, when you're trying to deflect certain things, like in Dark Souls, for that system to work, it has to be very precise. Yeah, it has to be very like precise. If he didn't hit you, it's got to be clear, right? And so there's always going to be those parts where sometimes it doesn't, but for the most part, Dark Souls is pretty clean with that. But you could argue that like Jedi Fallen Order is kind of less clean with that sometimes. Sometimes you're like, I swear I timed that perfectly, and I got hit. But my argument against that is just like when you're playing with lightsabers, it's very like wild and crazy to be like, and it's like hard to be precise when that happens. Sure, versus Dark Souls, they try to make it very deliberate, like chop, like that was a if you evaded it, you evaded it. Exactly. If you didn't, you didn't. But like lightsabers are a little bit more crazy, so I give them a little bit of slack with that. But in general, the game is super fun if you're into Star Wars at all. Like, and I like how you can change the difficulty at any point in time. Oh, that's like literally almost. I mean, I think you can't change it like in the middle of a fight, but like almost any other time you can change the difficulty. Like you're like, I'm having trouble with this boss, like I'm gonna put it down to like a little bit lower, and then if he's still beating you, you can put it down even lower if you want. That's way more leverage you get than you get from a From Software game. Yeah, like Dark Souls, they don't give you any room to whatever. So yeah. Jedi Fallen Order, I could see that being a contender for Game of the Year, but I don't know if it deserves the Game of the Year just because of the polish, and I know a lot of people complain that's a little bit short, but the quality of the game overall is really good. Like Jedi, it's like one of the best Star Wars games, I think a lot of people would say, at least in the past couple years. And you can make a yellow piss saber. Yes. Yeah, that's Game of the Year. Game of the Year. Another one, let's go. You played Fire Emblem, right? Yeah, so Fire Emblem came out this year, and then I was kind of disappointed. A lot of people were disappointed that it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year. Or whatever. I heard that. It was only nominated for a strategy Game of the Year. And I could see like why people are disappointed, because it is a really good game. I was originally worried that it was using too much of the Harry Potter stuff, and it was kind of just Japanese people just kind of leech on to like certain things that are trendy, like for example the isekai stuff in anime, which is just like another world where like people fall into video games. That's just like there's so many animes now that are based on this kid falls into like a video game world, and now they have to whatever. So like there's a lot of trendy things going on when it comes to like anime type stuff. Fucking Dot Hackstein started that too. What the fuck you people? Yeah, but So when I saw Fire Emblem trying to take a page out of the Harry Potter book, I was worried about that. But playing the game, I'm like, no, this works. Like this fits very well into the Fire Emblem gameplay and the world.
Okay, that's cool.
And so like, you know, so you're the teacher of your, you get to choose your house. So instead of Gryffindor and whatever, you get the lions,
Slytherin and Griffin Claw.
Yeah, it's red, yellow, or blue. It's like lions, eagles, or I forgot the other one because it's actually been a while since I played the game.
Okay.
Cool. But you get to choose one of the houses.
What did you choose?
I chose the blue one, which I think it's funny because I think it's like the red one is called the Black Lion or something. So it's like I'm kind of confused. I don't know, just Japanese people anime, they try to whatever. But I chose the blue one, and then it also has like that replay value because every time you play, you can choose a different house. Okay. Right, so you can play as which has a different story altogether because each house has a different role in the country because so each house comes from like the leader of the house comes from a different part of the country, kind of. I'm generalizing here.
Yeah.
But and so like as the story plays out, each part of the country or each country or whatever, each kingdom has a different motive, kind of like they want to do something different. And obviously at some point, spoiler alert, like some war breaks out, obviously.
Yeah.
And each one has different motivations and what they want to do. Obviously I don't know all of them because I only played one house so far, but that along with the story, like with your characters, is really cool because each character has, they have their own opinions on what's going on too. So you'd think that you lose some, I don't know, the Fire Emblem classic gameplay of the fights and then the like strategic part and whatever.
Okay.
Because they add in all this other stuff, which is like, have you ever played a Persona game where there's a lot of like running around town and talking to people? And
is that in this game?
Kind of. So you go back to like the monastery, which is basically Hogwarts. You run around and talk to all your students and the teachers and stuff, and they all have stuff to stay. And you can, and in that time that you have to run around the monastery, you can also like upgrade their stats and stuff like that, right? So you can teach them and do all this stuff. Right?
This is the first kind of Fire Emblem to like let you run around a bit, right?
Pretty much. I mean, there's been other ones that pseudo kind of do it, but for different reasons though.
I see.
Like the other
one I see, I only see like the battles, and I just thought it would like the story goes along and then it just goes to the next battle.
That's most of what it is. Yeah.
What's up, Poochie? This is the mascot here.
Yeah, but yeah, no. This is the first one where it added in that kind of Persona aspect where you have to kind of deal with all these relationships more in depth, I guess, because they're always building up to that, I guess, with all the other ones, like relationships and stuff. But this one, you get to like walk around the monastery and like
that's cool,
and do all that stuff. But most people at first were worried that there'd be too much of that stuff and not enough of the gameplay of like actually the fights and the wars and the like every level or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people have like they were surprised that it was actually a lot more fun to do that stuff than you thought, because it's like, when you have like one of the students that you want to build into like a knight, you want to go in and work on those things. Like, okay, we're going to make you like good at swords. We're going to make you good at riding horses. And then you're going to be friends with this person so you guys can work together. Oh, sorry. I'll get back to that. But anyway, no, Fire Emblem Three Houses is a really good game. Lots of replay value. The story's really good so far. I don't know if it's the deepest Fire Emblem story because I haven't played all the Fire Emblems, but I like it a lot because it seems like there's a lot more going on. If off the top of my head remembering all the other Fire Emblems, this one has like a lot going on in my opinion. Especially like again because you can play every house, right? Like you can go back and play each house and they have different things going on.
That's really cool,
right? So Fire Emblem I can see can also be a contender for Game of the Year. Moving on. Those are like the main ones. I mean, I wanted to mention Battlefront 2.
You talk about Battlefront 2 because that's an old game you play, and I'll talk about an old game I played.
Okay, sure. So I just wanted to bring up Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, just again. Even though it didn't come out this year, I think it had a bit of a resurgence this year just because it made everything free. And I don't know if that was this year or not, but it was really cheap around Christmas time.
Yeah.
And it still is, I think. It's like under $20.
Shit.
And everything's free after you buy that, in terms of, I don't know if you guys follow this, but when it first came out, there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of controversy because of the pay-to-play stuff, and you couldn't play as any of the characters you really wanted to. They took all that away, so now you can play as anyone you want when you get the chance to. But anyway, if you're ever interested in Battlefront 2, now's a good time to hop on it, and I think it might have a good chance.
I've never seen such a big pushback towards a game
I know.
than that.
But
anyway, sorry.
But it resulted in them doing what they did now, which is good, right? Like
exactly.
it's actually.
I think they learned their lesson somewhat there.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, so there's just honorable mention.
I played it. It's fun. It's just the multiplayer is fun. The dogfighting is pretty cool.
It's not like a hardcore shooter.
No.
It's more of a casual shooter, but it's still fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm playing The Witcher 3. That game apparently has gotten the most downloads since the game came out, or like if not more.
Since the show came out.
Like the show caused everyone to download it off Steam,
right.
and then I think it had more downloads than it did when it first came out, or something like that. Some crazy number like that. I already owned a copy. I had like the deluxe edition. I just never beat it. I played a bit of it, and then something else came out, and I was like, I want to play this. So I'm playing the game. Really fun. The world is huge. There's a lot of depth to it. My gripes with this game, though, sometimes the lighting in the game can make it look I can't tell what the fuck I'm looking at sometimes. I don't know.
Did you turn your brightness up?
Maybe I should. But it's not even that. It's like the way the light is going through the trees is kind of like, what the fuck? Also, yesterday there was a pretty long cutscene, and like the voices for half the characters just like dropped out. And I was like, what the hell's going on? Only my character's talking, and then I can just see what they're saying, but it's not.
So you're saying it's kind of buggy?
It was super buggy, at least this time. Like, maybe the game's not always like this, but...
I forgot when Witcher 3 came out, but...
It was like...
Did you watch it because of the Netflix series?
I played it again because of the Netflix series. We'll talk about that show when we get to the show part. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. One thing I do love about this game is like RPGs, like big ones like this. Sometimes you can be like, okay, where the fuck am I now? Like, I haven't played in a bit. This game like kind of it gives you a little recap of the story whenever you load back in, which I was like, fuck, thank you. Because I don't remember shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the world is cool. The combat is cool. I think like everyone loves the combat. I hope it gets a bit better, because right now I'm kind of bored with it a little bit. Like I can see it getting cooler, but at the same time it's kind of like just like, slash with my sword. Okay, roll, slash. It's like, I don't know.
Kind of basic.
A little basic, and I know there's more depth to it probably coming, and like I gotta upgrade shit and stuff, but yeah. I don't know. I am enjoying it. It's fun.
So there's a couple games obviously that I didn't play, or a bunch of games that we didn't play that I want to just mention that I know are probably really good.
Yes.
Just from what I've heard and all that stuff.
Hit those up.
So I haven't played Control. That's one. Yeah. Brad played Control. Our friend Brad played Control. Yeah. He didn't like it as much as the reviews did. Like a lot of the reviews, like I think IGN gave it Game of the Year or something like that.
I think they did, yeah.
And then I didn't play Resident Evil 2, but you talked about that one.
Yeah, it's good.
I really want to play that one. Everybody says that's an amazing like remake or whatever.
I don't love survival horrors, but that one is like very accessible.
Yeah. And then Outer Worlds is another one that I think you
got
would like.
that.
I didn't play it though.
I would probably love that game just because I love it's made by Obsidian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would enjoy it.
And then Disco Elysium is another one. I was really interested.
That game won some shit, didn't it?
I think it won Game of the Year. I mean, Indie Game of the Year. Sorry.
Indie Game of the Year.
In a lot of, or not even just that, but like in a lot of categories.
I feel like one major like video game news source gave it Game of the Year.
1 sec.
Gucci, stop it. God, cat.
Sorry, I just don't like Poochie on the table. Anyway, so I think like a big thing with Disco Elysium is that it really indulges the player. Like it lets you go down any path you want, no matter how obscure it might be. Mm-hmm. And it likes to play into those. So that's something I was really interested in. The other one is Outer Wilds, not Outer Worlds.
Yeah, what are the chances of those two names coming out the same year?
Yeah.
It's weird.
So Outer Wilds is really interesting because it's kind of like the universe is gonna explode. And every time it explodes, you get to reset back to wherever you are and try to figure out why the universe is exploding and what's going on in the whole thing. Huh. So it's like dealing with kind of like death and like, that whole like insignificance of you in the universe and all this stuff. So I haven't played it, but I heard that's really good.
I saw someone recently, some headlines like someone beat the game in 12 minutes. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I can see
I'm sure
that,
there's a way.
But that's not the point.
It's like Zelda. You can go fight Ganon right away.
Yeah. And then the last one is Untitled Goose Game. I didn't get to play that one. But obviously, I've heard a lot of good things about that.
I've seen some, well, not playthroughs, but it's like a good stream game, like a Twitch game.
Yeah.
It's just
like all the dumb things
you can do. You're a goose,
you
go fuck shit up,
Yeah.
It's fun.
Anyway.
Yeah, so those are honorable mentions. We need to hit those games up hopefully in 2020. I want to do Disco Elysium. I do want to play
I
that
think you'd
game.
like that one.
Yeah.
So
All right, we'll just talk about. Sorry. Okay.
So we'll finish up because now we only a couple seconds left. So that'll be the end of the game segment of the game of the year, and then we'll move on to movies in the next one. So
Sick.
We'll see you guys in the next segment.